Well, we're just about to begin another Kimberley boating trip. But this is a very different trip for me, a very special trip. Because my old mate Don Burrows is going to join me. Now, Don is one of Australia's most prominent jazz musicians, and you've been playing the music on my films for what?
Oh, decades.
Decades?
Yes.
Probably about 30 years.
Well, I'm nearly in the mid-70s,
Yeah.
so it must
And you're
be
not
that
as
long.
young as you used to
No.
be. And we've always talked about bringing you up into this country.
It's now or never.
Now or never, Don, that's right. We're just about to leave, and the first day we're going to run for 200 nautical miles up the coast. I'm going to take you in a gorge country that, no, I can guarantee no one else in the world goes into this country.
Dangerous?
Too dangerous, mate, too wild. But I've been coming up here for over 40 years, so I know it reasonably well. It's going to be a great trip, plenty of fishing, plenty of photography. It's going to be a trip of a lifetime.
I'm looking forward to it.
You ready to go, Bun? We might kick the motor over and do some miles.
Okay.
Let's go. We've come down into Secure Bay, and this is the most dangerous and most isolated part on the Kimberley coast, Don. The reason I brought you down here is because I want to take you around this bend here, and this is the most unforgettable experience of your life. I'll tell you why it's so dangerous down here. No one comes down here. So you've got this bay that we've been travelling on, Collier Bay. It's a great big bay, and it comes down and it narrows down. This is the Indian Ocean, so we've got about a 10-metre tide pushing through there. There's a bend here, and we're just about here, and then you go through a little narrow entrance here, and there's a rock right there.
We're going through that?
Yeah, we're going through that, mate. Now, I've only been down here twice in 30 years. The reason no one comes down here is just too dangerous. But
who called it Secure Bay?
I've no idea. I've no idea. But look, just hang on. Now, when we go through, it goes out here again, right? And you've got these whirlpools all around here. The boat's going to spin around a bit. Just hang on. Just keep hold of your camera. It'll be right.
Okay, mate.
Want to give it a shot? It's just fantastic to see it, isn't it?
That's wonderful.
See what'll happen?
That's incredible.
Look, just under the boat now. See that? There's a whirlpool
the
starting to
whirlpool
fill. Now we're
here.
going to get out of here.
Right.
What, Don?
Yeah, I just hit the back of it. Oh boy, that's wild. That is wild. That threw me off the back. I hit the back on that.
You all right,
Yeah,
mate?
yeah.
All right, let's get out of here. Well, I think we might have saved the boat, Don.
I hope so, Malcolm. I hope so.
I've been in worse situations than this, but this is a pretty hairy one. We came right up to the top of this river, and I've been here years ago, and I don't know what's happened, but I put the boat down here years ago, and it went down on the silt. I think there was a big flood last year, took all the silt away, and they've exposed these rocks. The tide went down, with 400 litres of fuel on, the boat stuck on the rocks. The next thing, the boat was going to tip over. Now, if it tips right over sideways and jams, we've lost the boat. We're in big trouble. So very quickly, we had to run all these ropes out. And there's only 4 of us. There's Will on sound and Abraham on the camera and my old mate Donnie Burrows and myself. He can't talk. He's speechless. He's never seen anything like this in his life. But
Never.
I think we're right. But all I got to do now is wait till about 1 a.m. in the morning when the tide comes in, and hopefully not too much water will go into the stern and the boat will float up. But we're going to have a very sleepless night. I'm just going to check all these ropes again.
Okay.
Well, I tell you what, you need a good feed after last night, Don. You know, oh, tired. I didn't get any sleep.
Me either.
Waiting for that tide to come in. About 3 o'clock this morning, the tide rushed up the gorge here, and the boat just popped up off the rocks and settled down there at the tide change, and just sitting down there nice and level. Going to have a feed, and we're going to have another fish.
Okay, mate.
Oh, what a night. I don't want to go through that again.
Could have been a disaster.
It could have been a
That's what
terrible
worried me.
disaster, yeah. Hey, look at that.
Beautiful.
Hey?
Well,
Look at that fish.
oh, yeah.
Up in the fresh water. Hey?
Yeah.
Now, Don, I've been telling you about this part of the Kimberleys for over 30 years.
You have, you have.
And we've finally made it. What do you think of it?
I'm amazed. It's more than you told me. I don't think it's possible to describe it.
The other thing is that it's incredibly difficult to capture it on film or get it with your still camera, isn't
I
it?
can't. I'm trying and it doesn't tell it.
No, it's just too big. But I know in your bag,
What?
you've got your clarinet, haven't you?
I just happen to have one with me.
Yeah, mate. Well, what do you think about a little bit of a tune up this gorge here?
It'll be my musical response to the grandeur and amazement of all this.
I've been waiting to get you up here on your clarinet for over 30
I
years.
know you have. That is rough.
I'm going to boil up the billy right here.
Oh.
Here, Bun. Here. We've come out of the gorge country early this morning and the tide's gone out. This is what I call wait a while country, Don.
It gives nothing.
I know, always waiting for the tide to go out or the tide to come in. So we picked this wood up last night. We're going to try and cook up a feed of noodles, bit of fish on the rising tide. Late this afternoon, when the wind drops, we're going to run about 50 nautical miles down the inlet, out to sea, to a little tiny island. It's got a beautiful reef around it, mate. You're going to have the best saltwater fly fishing you have ever experienced in your life. Mate, I've got fish fillets here, onions, plenty of 2-minute noodles, and I've already put in my old favourite, my coconut cream, mango slices, and just a touch of all the way from Broome soya, honey and garlic sauce. There we are, just drop that in there, and that's just about ready. Don, there's a barra just taking that line now. Right, he's on. There you are, Don. A nice saltwater barra. Hey, look at that. Hey, he's a good fish, isn't he?
Yes, sir.
Hey, look at
That's
that.
good.
He's a nice young
Yeah.
saltwater barra.
Yeah.
We've got a double hook up on fly gear on big trevally. How you going there, Don?
Okay, but
I'm right down to the backing. Can you get that one over? Oh, you wouldn't know how to lift him, can you?
barely.
Put him, look at that one. Now that is a fish. That's Kimberley fishing, fly fishing. Hey?
He's bigger than I am.
Yeah, isn't that beautiful? What I'm going to do, quickly get this fly out and let him go.
Yep.
Over the years, people are always asking me how I cook fish out in the bush. Well, there are quite a few ways, and what I'm going to do today is show you about 6 different ways that I cook fish out in the bush. The first way is to get your fish and put it straight on the coals. Now, I'm sure you've seen me do this many times over the years in my early films. Just get down to the nice hot sand there, put a few coals back in, drop your fish straight on there, and you don't gut your fish. And the skin acts like a foil, and just drop all your coals straight on the top there and the hot sand, and make sure you don't have any flame, otherwise the flame will burn the fish. Right, leave that for about 15 minutes. If you don't like your fish straight on the coals, what you can do here is gut your fish. I've got a nice little barramundi here. Put him on the foil, wrap him up straight into the coals. Here's another version of the aluminium foil. These have come on the market in the last few years. The oven liners. So I've got a nice salmon here. I've taken the head off so it'll fit. Pop the head and the wings in there. And I'm going to add an onion here. And the oil, of course. There's the onion in there. Put the oil all over that. Popped in my hand. That's the beauty, of course, of being out in the bush. If you spill something, it doesn't matter. Put some coconut cream on here, and I just found these in the tucker box, some sultanas. So I'm going to put some sultanas in there, make it nice and sweet. Oh, and a sweet potato. Cut that up, just 2 or 3 pieces. Put the lid on, and straight on the coals. I put some extra foil around the tray, so that'll seal in all the steam and all the juices, and it'll cook a lot better. I've got a few of my mates here have come in to help me have a feed. So we just take the hot coals and sand off there, and I'm going to lift it very carefully up onto the rock. See that? Oh, perfect, hey? That's going to be good. Right, I'm just going to lift it up there onto that rock. Over there. Surprisingly, all the sand and hot ash falls off, and the skin acts like an aluminium foil. So all you do now is just peel this back, and look at that beautiful, beautiful flesh there. By leaving the guts in and the skin on as you're cooking, it makes it nice and juicy. Just see here, this is just beautiful. We're now just going to get the one out of the coals that's been wrapped in the foil. The shovel's always the best thing. Straight under there and over onto the rocks. There we are, look at that. And that is cooked to perfection. Oh, this is a barramundi. What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Good, eh?
Yum, yum,
Yum, yum, yeah. This is the most traditional way of cooking fish in the bush. This is the Aboriginal way. Prepare a fire, put hot stones on the fire till they're really, really hot. Put the stones in the bottom of a hole, put some coals in there, then put your paper bark on top there. Make a nice bed of paper bark, and then put your fish on the paper bark and cover it over. Sometimes when you're out in the bush and you get a fish like a golden trevally, and they're not the world's greatest fish to eat, you go to your tucker bag and you see what you've got. Well, I've laid the trevally on the foil. We usually carry onions, so we put the onions in there, and then I've always got my diced mangoes, so we put the diced mangoes on next. Now here, I've got some dried mushrooms, see them? We jam the mushrooms inside there, a couple underneath, put all the olive oil on, and coconut cream, my favourite, put that in there. And here, I've got a tin of diced tomatoes, put that on, and I've even got some stir-fry wok sauce. So I put just a bit of that on there. Now you've got to admit that's looking pretty good. And last of all, a little garlic salt. Garlic salt there, and Get to the black pepper in a minute. We've got some basil. Dried basil, of course. We can't carry fresh basil out in the bush. And the last one is some ground black pepper. On there. Get all those juices and tomato and everything underneath. Roll it up. And once again, straight into the coals. I've got a hillbilly lid underneath it. It takes a lot of heat. And just a few coals on the top there. Using that lid underneath will make it a lot easier to get it off the fire. Now we can't have fish out in the bush without our traditional fish and chips. So I'm just going to take a nice fillet off here, off this Bengal Emperor. Once the chips have been cooking for a few minutes, got my fish fillets here. Just a little bit of plain flour. You want to have the fish nice and dry, of course, otherwise it's going to spit. And I always use a very heavy duty frying pan in the bush, otherwise everything will burn too easily. Fish and chips in olive oil, I bet that makes you feel hungry. And here's our fish 30 minutes later. Put some dried parsley on, and I tell you what, fish doesn't come much better than that. I've just arrived at Meter Station and I'm heading out into one of the stock camps to catch up with a couple of young ladies who are working here for a couple of years on this cattle station. And I reckon they're a couple of endangered characters because, just got to watch this barbed wire here, because they're competing with the men, doing 14, 15-hour days here, 7 days a week for 2 or 3 months at a time. And I'm really looking forward to catching up with them. G'day, Sam.
G'day, Malcolm. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Yeah, really good. Just going along smoothly.
That's the way. Big day.
Yeah, should have a few in front of us.
And where's your mate, Bo?
She's back there.
Oh, yeah, I'll go and see her.
Oh, no worries. G'day, Malcolm. How you going?
How's it going, Bo?
Fantastic.
Big day?
Always a good day.
Ready to hold you up?
No worries.
Plenty of work to do?
Plenty of work.
Whenever I go into a stock camp, I find the women are always very competitive. Is that because you have to compete against the men, or the men put you down, or what?
Well, no, they don't generally put you down. I suppose you just want to be, you always want to be doing your best, don't you?
Yeah.
And proving yourself.
That's right.
What about proving yourself?
I mean, you get up, what, about 4:30 in the morning?
Yeah, 4:35.
And you're in the middle of the dry season at the moment here, so you're mustering. So yesterday, what were you doing yesterday? You were putting up temporary yards, weren't you?
Yeah, we put up an overnight panel yard.
That's hard work, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Lugging those
Sometimes.
panels around on your back.
Yeah,
Huh?
they can get heavy.
Yeah.
But you get used to it. We cart them around a lot.
Yeah. It's a long day in the heat.
We get half an hour or 20 minutes for lunch.
Yeah, 20 minutes for lunch. I've got some crocodile on today, did you know that?
Yeah, that sounds
in,
good.
in the camp oven over there. It's a long, dusty afternoon. With the helicopters and the ringers moving the cattle to the yards, ready for drafting in the morning. What's your definition of drafting? I know what it is, but for all these city people watching this show...
Oh, well, you gotta get all your breeders out, and you gotta get the calves and the weaners off them.
Yeah, weaners, yeah.
Yeah.
And all the ones old enough to go overseas.
Yeah. All the weaners, all the heifers and the mickeys off them, and.
And the Mickey?
Yeah.
What's a Mickey? Come on.
Just a young bull.
A young bull, yeah. But you don't put the young bulls out, do you?
No.
They've got to be castrated.
Yeah, we cut them.
Dehorn them.
Yep.
Yeah.
And brand them.
And brand them up, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all hard work, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Can get extremely warm next to that brander.
Yeah. You do the castrating too?
Yeah.
Doesn't worry you?
No, not one bit.
Yeah, that's good. There's not many young girls that have come out of the city and come up here and handle it, but you love it, eh?
Yeah, it's great.
You work every day,
Yep.
what, for about 8 weeks straight sometimes?
Yeah, the last stint was, yeah.
Yeah. And this time you're out, what, for about 5 weeks?
Yep. Yeah.
7 days a week?
Yeah.
5 o'clock in the morning to sundown?
Yep.
You've got a pretty classy shower, about 500 metres from the camp.
Yeah, we have. It's a just an overflow coming from the tank.
Yeah, and a rock, and you balance on the
Yeah.
rock, and there's a little drop of water that comes out,
Yeah.
and that's where you wash every day.
Yeah, we have our showers there.
Yeah.
Yep.
And you swag out, you roll your swag out most
Yep.
nights.
Yep.
Although I notice you now got these mozzie domes.
Yeah, there.
Yeah, very modern.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have.
And how do you cope with Bar and Sam?
Oh, Sam's alright. Bo's alright, I guess.
No, go on.
Yeah.
Be honest, she gives you
Honest.
a hard time?
Hard time, just don't really like the way she works, but it's alright.
A bit bossy.
Oh, just, yeah, a bit like that.
I reckon they work harder than the bloke.
You reckon?
Yeah, sure.
Sure. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah.
What do the blokes do that the women can't do?
Oh, they just get in. Well, some of the women do alright, but most of them just hang back a bit. And the
Hang back?
blokes, yeah,
Bar and Sam don't hang back.
yeah, sometimes.
How many points out of 10 would you give them?
About 7,
What about a 9.5?
9.5.
How do you cope with the ladies in the camp?
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, it's. I don't say, but. No, it's better than just having all blokes. Like it's,
Yeah. They pull their weight?
yeah.
I reckon they're better than the blokes.
I don't know about that.
Your women work harder than the men, I reckon. Is that because you've got to compete with them? Do the men give you a hard time?
Yeah, they do actually, quite
Yeah.
a lot. Yeah, like
Yeah.
with panels and stuff. When we first got out here, I wasn't really allowed to do them that much. I think because they were probably worried because I was a lot thinner than what I am now that I wouldn't be able to lift them and I'd hurt myself. But
You put on a bit of beef, have you? out
yeah,
here?
I've put on 5 kilos since I've
5
been here.
kilos out
Yeah.
here working and riding, and
Yeah, which I was
Yeah.
really happy about. Hey, I didn't think that I'd be able to put
you
on
look
any
pretty
weight.
fit now. Pretty.
Yeah, I'm not
pretty
too
good.
bad. I've got some muscles. I'll be winning
Ah.
arm wrestles soon.
Are you? How do you cope with Bar and Sam in the camp?
Oh, all right, put up with you.
I put up with it.
Put up with it,
You
yeah.
can't do anything else, mate. You're standing right here with a big stick. eh? These are commonly called Kimberley oysters. And they're a very nice entree on the coals for lunch. And there's our Kimberley oysters. Got the head stockman here, he's been brought up on these. And we've got a visiting vet here. Want to try one?
I'll give it a go.
Give it a go.
Don't know about it.
Delicious. Talk about a quality out in the stock camp. The ladies have got to go and get the wood for the campfire, but it's just a trick to starting the old truck. Use the Mordine. Show us how you do it.
We need to put the. Oh no, we don't. Right, are you ready?
Well, it's time for me to move on, but don't go away, because after the break, we'll be right back. Come on, dog. Bun, here. Up. Good dog. Ready to go? This week, we're going to go bush a little bit closer to home. We're going to have a look at the Dampier Peninsula just north of Broome. Now we've got this big mud map here on the side of the road. Here's Broome down here. We're going to take this dirt road right up here. We're going to go into Beagle Bay. We're going to go into Lombardina. We're going to have a look at the best beach in Australia up here at Cape Leveque. Pop over to One Arm Point. We're going to cut across to Ludgata Bay here, get some really great mud crabs, and we're going to spend a fair bit of time chasing the odd crocodile down on the Fitzroy River. And that's a really great place for barramundi. So let's go. I must show you the inside of this church. During the 1914 World War, the German missionaries here were forbidden to leave Beagle Bay. So with the help of the local Aborigines, and to pass away the time, they built this extraordinary church and altar. And it's tucked away in the far northwest of Western Australia. And it really is a special place on the Dampier Peninsula. And when school's out, this is the place to be, down in the local spring at Beagle Bay. And this is the end of the road at Cape Leveque. And now I want to take you up there and show you one of the best beaches in Australia. Just have a look at this. A pristine wilderness beach right up the top end of northwest Australia. It doesn't come any better than this. Around 200 kilometres north from Broome is the Aboriginal community of One Arm Point. Now if you drive through the community, come out here and stop, you can see the islands of the Buccaneer Archipelago. If you wait here a few hours, you'll see one of the greatest rises and falls of tide that you'll see anywhere in the world. This is another icon on the Dampier Peninsula. This is the old Catholic church at Lombardina, built by the local people in the 1930s, using local materials. The roof is lined with paperbark, and it's really worth a look. Just have a look at this. And there are beaches like this all the way along the Dampier Peninsula. Time for a swim. Beautiful. Spin it around. There's nothing more enjoyable than coming up a remote tidal creek and getting a feed of mud crabs. And one of my preferred baits is snappy tom, or one of these cat foods. This one is actually Fancy Feast, tuna and mackerel. What do you reckon, Bund? Hey, we can't miss, so it's just a matter of pulling up the little tab on the top putting it in the net there, a couple of holes in it, drop it over the side. While you're waiting for a few crabs to go into the pots, a little bit of fishing. Got a bite now. He's on. Oh, that's a very nice finger mark. Beautiful eating. When they get bigger, they're called golden snapper. Called finger mark here because they've got this finger mark right there, see? Have a look at these. Oh. And look how he's mangled that tin there. The great thing about the tins of cat food is that the oil drifts around in the water and stays in the net a lot longer than an ordinary piece of fish. Now, these are not the big green crab. These are called brown crabs. They're smaller in the shell, but very sweet. And the legal size for these is only 120 millimetre. Now, the easiest way to hold a crab is just to pick it up by these rear swimmers there, see? And you can hold it, tie it up, do what you like with it, and it can't bite you. If you're a little bit nervous about picking up a crab, how about a set of these? Crab pliers. You can turn your crab around and you can pick him up with complete safety. Mangroves are never great places to be with the mosquitoes and the sandflies, and it's always hot. But in a survival situation, you've got to know how to find something to eat. Now, there are mangrove snails, and at times you can find the evidence on the ground. See here? We've got a large pippy or a cockle or a bivalve. Righto, now that's a dead one. Now we've got to be able to work out where they are. And you can see the top of the pippy here, see that? Sometimes they're just under the ground, you've got to see a crack. Here, this one's just out of the ground. There it is. Get a feed of those very quickly around here. The pippies just need 2 or 3 minutes on the hot coals until they open. And I'm just giving them a little bit of a wash here. There we are, just like a big oyster or a scallop. One of the more disgusting foods that you can get in the mangroves are these mangrove worms. See them here? Slimy things, you get really long ones sometimes. Hey. Yeah. Have you ever seen anything quite as disgusting as that? I can eat most bush tuckers, but this one here. Maragunga nutta. That means that it's pretty average, pretty so-so. Very salty, pretty bland, but underneath quite an unpleasant taste. But Yolngu people, Miritiri Manimak means they're really good food. As I said earlier, the mangroves is one of the worst places to get stuck. If you've got an axe and you're feeling very, very hungry, you can get these mangrove worms out of the rotten wood, not the green wood. Now I know why you slurp it in, because as you take it in, you squeeze all the innards, all the mud and decomposing dirt out of the worm. And then you end up with just with this part here, and that's not too bad. It's always interesting to come ashore in a remote place and see where the Aboriginal people have been camping previously, and you can have a look around and find out what they've been eating. Like we've got here, mangrove snails, bivalves, or we call them pippies, and two sorts of oysters here. Now, oh wait a minute, there's another one here too. See this? It's quite a large snail you get in the mud around the mangroves. So, if you see these and you know the Aboriginal people have eaten them, that means they're not poisonous, and you can eat them too. On just about any sandy beach in North Australia, you see these tracks. And people's first reaction is, it's a crocodile track. Well, this is not a crocodile track, this is a turtle track. And if you follow this track up, in a survival situation, you can find food. Just before I go up and show you where these eggs are, I'll show you more or less what a crocodile track looks like. So just pop over here. Now, when a crocodile slides up, you've got to sort of has a big belly drag. There you get a mark like that. And each side, you get these big claw marks like this. It's quite different. And up the middle of it, you get this drag like this, where his big tail is dragging. So that very much looks like a crocodile track. And this one is quite different because you've got this really wide track where you've got this big shell of the turtle and the big flippers where he's pulling himself up. Righto, let's go and have a look at this nest up here. I must stress that turtles are protected, and you're not to take turtle eggs unless in an emergency, matter of life and death in a survival situation. But it's still interesting to have this knowledge. Now, the turtle's come up the beach and she's laid somewhere in this area here. Your first reaction is to look at this depression here and think, that's where the eggs are. Well, the eggs aren't here. The eggs are right over in this area here somewhere. She's dug a hole there, she's deposited the eggs, and then she's covered the eggs over, and this is the last area where she's flicked all the dirt and sand back over the eggs. So this is the tricky part. How do you locate those eggs? The only way to find the eggs is to have a long, smooth stick, or in this case I've picked up a bit of wire here, and you go across the whole area where the turtle's covered the nest until you find where the sand drops down, because it's always a lot looser underneath. And you just keep doing this until you finally locate where the eggs are. There we are, right here. Now you can eat these eggs raw, or you can boil them in salt water. So there's usually 60 or 80 eggs down here. So you would have food here for days if you're stuck on a beach like this. Just show you these eggs and I'll put them back. Over. Leave him there. There we are. Just been to the airport, picked up this box. In here are 50 baby alligators from the Australian Reptile Park. So excited. Waited a couple of years for these. All in the bags here. They're very docile compared to the saltwater crocs. They don't attempt to bite. They've got this beautiful flat head, see? Happy smiley face there. And these strong golden stripes. Excellent camouflage when they're young, when they're out in the wild. Alligators are very different than crocodiles. You've got to feed them in the water. They'll come and take the food as soon as you bring it out here. And you can just see how much they've grown just in 8 weeks. These are American alligators from Louisiana and Florida, the bottom end of the United States. Now, basically they're a very quiet animal. There's been about 14 deaths in the United States in the last 20 years from these, but if you don't aggravate the animal, you treat it right, it's basically one of the quieter of all the crocodilians. Now, They will bite you, they will grab you if you aggravate them. But if you just treat them nicely, and we've raised these for the last 10 years, you can handle them with a fair bit of security and ease. He's not going to lash around it, you notice that? Look, see? Absolutely no problem because we treat our animals with respect. What I have to do now is just grab him gently by the tail, slide him along on the wet concrete, and we'll pick him up and move him to another pond. Come on, mate. There's no attempt to bite me or fight me. That's right, you move out of the way. Right, he's pretty heavy. And we're going to just tape up those jaws because they still have very powerful teeth and very powerful jaws. Righto. What is it, male or female? Female? Righto, I'm just going to take the tape off here and everyone out of the way. Nice and steady, pressure on the jaw, and just back off. Righto, mate. Come on, in the water. There we are, in the water. In the water, come on. Come on, that's the girl. There you are. Perfect. This is one of my new lakes that I've constructed out in the bush from Broome, out of my new wilderness park. I've got about 100 3 to 4 metre crocs in this lake, and it's feeding time for them. And I just love this spot. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show, and I'll do it all again next week. Come on!